Pressure's on. There we go. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our third Sustainable CT Coffee Hour. We are always looking forward to these events. They're informal opportunities for us to gather together and just talk about what's cooking, what's popping, what are we working on, what's interesting, what are some areas of supports that we can provide you programmatically. We've had 2 sessions that are recorded and on our website, and we can share the link for that on in the chat box, so you can go in and see what we've covered in the past. If you've missed those, we will record this session as well. It will be available in that same place on the website, so you can go in and get a sense of things that we've covered. But we want to tailor these sessions so that they're important and impactful for the work that you're doing. So if you've got ideas of things you want to talk about, that you want to lead, or that you just want to hear about, and we'll find some speakers, we're happy to do it. So again, you can let us know in the chat box. You can send us an email at info@sustainablect.org. But the sky's the limit. These are really sessions for us to come together as a community and talk about sustainability issues that we're all working on. So another opportunity for this is for you all to get to know the Sustainable CT team. So my name is Jessica LeClaire, and I'm one of the program managers with Sustainable CT. And you know, we are a small staff, so we all have different responsibilities. One of the things that I work on is to help towns understand the program. So if you're thinking about joining, helping you get to know what Sustainable CT could look like. As you have questions, you're registered, you're in, you've got questions, you can contact me and we'll connect you with different resources, including the fellows. And this week, actually, we're interviewing fellows. So stay tuned for the summer months. We're going to have some amazing young people out at the various councils of governments providing you direct support. And I'm so excited about the group of applicants that we've got this year. They're really amazing. So that's me, but I want to turn it over to Lynn. I see her on the line too, to introduce herself quick.
Morning, everyone. Lynn Stoddard, Executive Director of Sustainable CT. Always good to see your happy faces. Happy Friday.
Thanks, Lynn. And I think we've got Torrin on here too.
Hi, everybody. I'm Torrin Radiccioni. I am Sustainable CT's website manager. If you see something on the website that is not right or is broken, please feel free to reach out. More than happy to help.
All right, so that's our team on the line. There are more of us not here today, but you'll get to meet them over the next couple of months. But today we are here to hear from some really amazing partners of Sustainable CT on some of the work that they're doing that could be helpful for you as a municipality. Possibly with regard to your Sustainable CT actions or just the stuff that you've got going on in town. So we're really excited to hear from the Connecticut Green Bank, the Connecticut Institute for Resilience and Climate Adaptation, the CTRides program, and the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness. So we've got 4 speakers who are going to share a bit about the products and the work that they've got for towns. It's a lot, so hopefully we'll have time for 1 to 2 questions after each speaker, and then a block of time at the end for some questions. But we'll sort of see how that goes. We do want to give you time to interact with the panelists, so we might just hold it all for the end. At any rate, one quick thing before we dive into the speakers, I just want to flag that April is almost upon us. And on April 6th, we have a certification deadline. So this is an optional deadline. You might have 1 action or all of your actions completed or anywhere in between. If you'd like us to review those actions, please mark them complete and send us an email at info@sustainablecd.org. Or if you've triggered the certification thresholds, you can just click a submit button. If you're not sure what that is, that's okay. Just email us at info@ if you have actions that are marked completed that you'd like us to review. It's really a helpful time for towns and for us to get a sense of where communities are, how you're doing, and if there are any tweaks that are needed, you'll still have time to do that work before our August deadline. So that's coming up. If anyone has questions or want to dig deeper on that, let me know. I'll put my contact information in the chat. But first, we want to start off with CIRCA, the Connecticut Institute for Resilience and Climate Adaptation. And we're going to hear from John Trzynski this morning. And I think John has some slides for us, but I will turn it over to you, John.
Thanks, Jess. I'm going to keep it pretty informal and just maybe take a look at some of the websites that we have and kind of talk about what we do. You know, if folks have questions or things they want to see more of as I'm going, just throw it in the chat or jump in. Like I said, I'll just keep it pretty informal. And thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about what Circa does and connect with all of you. Appreciate that. So again, my name is John Trasinski, and I'm the Director of Resilience Planning at Circa, which is the Connecticut Institute for Resilience and Climate Adaptation. We are a research institute. We're located or situated within the School of Marine Sciences at UConn. So our office is down at Avery Point in Groton, where the School of Marine Science is housed. And I figured I would just kind of walk through our website and talk about some of the work that we do. Basically, Circa was set up sometime around 2014, and it was basically, after Sandy and Irene and a bunch of storms had impacted Connecticut. And it was an opportunity to kind of take some of the research capacity and the technical capacity of UConn and match it up with some of the planning and the decisions that towns and state agencies were kind of facing at that time and, are going to continue to face. And, what we do is sort of try to sort out for towns and state agencies and for the state in general, what do we do about climate change? This climate change issue, how can we adapt our infrastructure? How can we pay for projects to adapt? What are some of the economic and social implications of, a changing climate in Connecticut? And so that is, kind of our general principle is really about helping the state, stakeholders and communities throughout the state to become more resilient. So our main website here is circa.uconn.edu. And it kind of just has a lot of information about some of the work that we do. For instance, we have some climate change fact sheets that we put together here. And I thought I would go through a little bit, looking at sea level rise. Our bread and butter really being in the School of Marine Science and really after Sandy, the sea level rise issue was such a big issue for Connecticut, or it was clear in everyone's mind. So, one of the challenges of figuring out what we as a state could do about sea level rise, one of the hardest things to do is to get everybody on the same page. What should we plan for? What should we expect? So that was something we were asked to do, is kind of prepare guidance for the state. How much sea level rise can we expect in the future? How quickly is it going to happen? So that was one of the first things that we were asked to work on, and which led to this report here, which was basically to take some of the work that NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and some of the technical panels that work with the UN as part of the climate negotiations, they prepare sea level rise estimates for the globe. What is the global average of sea level rise that we can expect? So basically, we were asked to figure out, what does that mean for Connecticut? There's a bunch of different little factors, local factors that contribute to sea level rise on the Long Island Sound in Connecticut. One of them being that actually over time the land is sinking in Connecticut as well as sea level is rising. So sea level is actually rising faster in Connecticut and along much of the East Coast of the United States than it is globally. So we looked at that, and Jim O'Donnell, who's the executive director of Circa, put together this report and basically downscaled it to Connecticut and came up with the guidance of 20 inches by 2050. Our best estimate of what we can expect in the likely range of things that might happen by 2050 is to prepare for 20 inches of sea level rise. And so that report was then put into the state policy in 2018. And, as a result, communities along the coast, when they're doing a plan of conservation and development or doing a natural hazard mitigation plan, are asked to consider 20 inches of sea level rise by 2050 in those plans. So that's a little example of kind of, how we take the faculty expertise and combine it with the state policy, and then try to put it together into a format that can be used for towns. Another example of where we took that work, we then created this map viewer that you can find here. And, there's a number of these different map viewers that are out there that can help you kind of visualize sea level rise. So this is another example of one that we did for Connecticut. And, it has some of the data layers that you can click on and off over here. And for instance, you can take what we call a 100-year storm. FEMA likes to talk about the 100-year flood or the special flood hazard area or things like that. So we take our estimate of the 100-year storm and then add 20 inches of sea level rise to it. And that's a layer that you can turn on and off and, use that for planning, for instance, and see where there are areas of the map that are low lying. Take a look at some of the infrastructure and things that are there, and that can be used for planning. And let's see if we go back here. Okay, so we have the viewer. And then also sometimes we will work directly with towns to figure out what this means for a local area. So one project where we did that was in New London. We worked with the faculty in the School of Landscape Architecture in New London to do a project along Bank Street and South Water Street in New London. And so basically this was taking that sea level rise guidance and working with the local community in this location and kind of trying to figure out what are some of the options that they could do to adapt the infrastructure. What sort of flood control infrastructure could they put in? Should they remove buildings and retreat from this area? Went through a whole number of different options that the city of New London are now taking, and they're moving forward and trying to build out some projects in this area based on that. So that's kind of a little bit of what we do, and we do. We're as a general goal, we're happy to work with towns to help to make Connecticut more competitive for federal grants, for resilience. So in general, we can work with towns, and that can mean anything like coming and doing a presentation for your local planning and zoning committee or your local flood and erosion control board. It could also mean doing some support for a grant application that you might be putting together for a project. And sometimes it can be more, like partnering on a project and doing something along those lines. So we're happy to support towns that are trying to figure out how to plan for climate change impacts. And, I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Sustainable CT as we build out some of the ideas around resilience planning action and taking some of this work that we've done and kind of crafting it in a way that can be easy for towns to do the reporting and figure out how to, fulfill that action. So I think that's about 10 minutes for me. So I will just stop it there. And if there's any kind of immediate questions or topics you want to talk about, we can do that, or we can move on to the next one.
John, that was right on the money. Thank you so much. So we do have time for one or two questions. If folks want to unmute themselves and ask, you're welcome to do it. Or if you'd rather use the chat, that's fine too.
I have a question, John. Thanks. Great presentation. What about the Connecticut River? Do you have any numbers with your studies that have impacted or you can talk about in regards to inland? I live in Rocky Hill, so.
Yeah, actually, we have worked with a couple of faculty at UConn to, well, let me just share my screen really quickly again. And we have worked on developing some guidance for precipitation and riverine flooding too. And I don't know if I'll be able to quickly find it. So maybe I won't do that because I don't want to take up too much time. But yeah, so if you check out the website, there is on the Circle website, there is a viewer that has some updated estimates for riverine flooding, as well as some kind of fact sheets about what we in general expect in terms of how much precipitation might increase by 2050, you know, in the similar way that we do with the sea level rise. And I'm happy to follow up, you know, offline too, and point you in the direction of some of those resources.
One more question. All right, well, you can be thinking of those questions and save them for the end. Now we're gonna go to the Connecticut Green Bank and hear from Emily Basham, and she's gonna walk us through some of the cool stuff that they've got going on in Rocky Hill. Speaking of Rocky Hill. All right, Emily.
Thanks, Tess. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, I'm just going to some slides, so let me know if you can see it.
You are all good, Emily.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Basham with the Connecticut Green Bank. Happy to be joining you all on this Friday morning. And I'm here to talk about our CPACE program. You know, we at the Connecticut Green Bank are very happy to be partnered with Sustainable CT in many different ways. A lot of what I do at the Green Bank is helping connect municipalities and their sustainability groups to the resources that we have at the Green Bank. And a lot of our resources are directly aligned with Sustainable CT actions. So there's a few that I grabbed from the Sustainable CT website and threw up here of a number of different programs that we have. But today I wanted to talk about the CPACE program. It's action 2.6 in the program, and just kind of provide a high level, you know, what is CPACE and what can you do to achieve points in the program, and also bring this resource to your community. So just a high level, I'm sure some folks on the phone may already know this, but the Connecticut Green Bank, we're a quasi-public state agency. We were founded with the mission of deploying as much clean energy in the state as possible. And we do that by leveraging the limited amount of public dollars that we receive as a quasi-public to attract private capital investment into Connecticut and into these projects. So we administer many different programs at the Green Bank on the residential side, the municipal side, and the commercial side. So today I just want to talk about one of our main commercial resources, our CPACE program. And I'm sure many people on the phone know that are well aware that we have really high energy costs in Connecticut, and it can be very burdening for a lot of different folks, for our homeowners, for our renters, but also for our building owners. And so with the addition of COVID having its own impacts on businesses, we know that the ability to control your energy costs is really valuable, and is definitely something that's on everyone's minds these days. So we have the CPACE program that can really help with that. CPACE stands for Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And this is really a financing solution that is tailored for clean energy projects. So it provides 100% funding of a project, and the measures that would be financed are custom for a building owner. And it really helps to a building owner to create a solution that helps them control their energy costs and make predictable utility bills, and make their buildings more comfortable for either their employees or maybe as a business they have clients that come in. So we created this program to help with that and create a financing solution for that. So just really briefly in a nutshell, what makes this financing mechanism different than others that are out there in the market, and really attractive for anyone that wants to make energy improvements. This is kind of CPACE in a nutshell. So this is financing that's available to commercial properties for clean energy upgrades. So really anything that's not a single family property. So this could include industrial facilities, manufacturing facilities, office buildings, retail. So if you're thinking about what exists in your town and who could use this resource, it's really any of those kind of traditional commercial properties, but would also include multifamily properties or nonprofits, houses of worship. So all of these types of businesses and building owners could use this program to improve, make energy improvements. And what we're offering is a solution that's long-term. We know that when you're doing an energy project, it's not immediate payback. So this allows people to think of, what do they really want to do to their property, and be able to have a financing that covers all of those measures and for a long period of time, so they can pay it back. And the other thing I'll point out on this slide is that the way this financing mechanism works is that it's an assessment similar to a water or a sewer assessment. So we actually work directly with municipal government to place the assessment on the property, and then once complete, the town will actually send the payment to and collect along with your sewer assessment and your water assessment. So we partner directly with towns to make this financing available. And that is why part of the action for Sustainable CT is to make sure that your town is opted in to participating in offering this as a resource for building owners. And so I'll just go through a couple more slides, and then I want to shift over to our website to show some resources that are available to help towns do outreach for the program and collaborate with us to make this program a little more visible for building owners as a resource. Just wanted to show a couple of different slides about the project sizes and types. So predominantly this is solar that we're financing, but it's not just solar. It can be any energy efficiency upgrades, insulation, or any of the typical measures that help to reduce energy. So any measures that impact, your fuel or electricity bills can be included in this. And our average amount that we finance is around $500,000. So they can be pretty large projects that are really helping to change the energy use of a property. And we work with all different property types. You'll see it kind of split out into what our current projects look like. So it's really runs the gamut of the types of businesses or types of properties that we're working with. And just to quickly touch on a couple of the special offers that we have going on through the CPACE program. This is our Charge Up CT program, where we're giving away free electric vehicle charging stations. There is some criteria that's important to point out here, that the project must be at least $150,000. And we want to see at least 20% of that project going towards efficiency measures. We want to make sure that we're putting a charger on there and you're using electricity to charge up vehicles, which is great. But we want to make sure that you're also reducing the electricity in the project as well through an energy efficiency portion of the project. So this program goes through April 30th, and that's just the deadline to get an application in. So there's plenty of time to talk about this with various businesses and your community and promote, getting a free charging station, which is awesome. And then we also have flexible repayment options that could really catch the ear of a business that's struggling to pay their bills. These are some flexible options that we have. So really quickly, I want to shift over. I'm not sure how much time I have, Jess, but just to show our website.
1 or 2 minutes.
Perfect.
Cool.
So we just came up with some new resources for municipalities. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is our website. It's really simple. It's cpace.com. This is our landing page. And when you scroll down, we actually have a section for municipalities. So when we click on that, it takes us to our municipality page. And this explains, CPACE financing and how it works for the whole community. On the right-hand side, we have promote CPACE in your community. So when you click on that, this shows like a number of actions that you can do to bring CPACE resources to the community. And it also has some links to template materials to help you get started. So, you could host a webinar where we'd come and speak just like this to building owners. We did one on Wednesday with the town of Pomfret, talking to business owners. I think we already have a couple of applications in for the program, so it's really great. You could send a mailing. We've got a template mailing that you could use. You could post on social media. We have a draft post. Or you could use this scheduling link to set up a meeting directly with our CPACE team with maybe a business in town that's looking to make these kinds of improvements. So we've got a lot of resources on here to bring the CPACE team and also the program to the community. So I wanted to show you guys that. And these are all things that can be done and satisfy portions of Action 2.6 for the program. So hopefully that didn't go over 2 minutes. But thank you guys for letting me talk about the CPACE program. Hopefully you've seen it in the menu of actions, and this gives you a little bit better of an understanding of what the program is and what exactly you could do to help bring it locally.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily. So I think we'll have time for one question if anyone wants to unmute themselves. Yep, Cyril.
Hey, thanks so much for that overview. I wanted to check, and maybe we don't have enough time for this, but I'd like to learn more about how the municipalities dovetail with CPACE. You said a couple of things which I didn't understand. I'm on the garbage and recycling end, and so I'm not on the energy and financing end. Does a town first off have to enlist and be an official partner with CPACE in order for businesses within our town limits to work with CPACE? That's the first question. And then after that, I'm not sure about the financing and how that shows up, I guess, in tax bills or something, but maybe that's something I should take care of with you discussing at some other point.
I've got a 30-second response and then happy to talk with you afterwards. That's exactly right. Towns have to pass a resolution to opt into the CPACE program. Many towns have already done that. I'm going to quickly show this map that shows the participating towns in Connecticut. So that's already been taken care of, and you simply just get a copy of that resolution and upload it for the credit. And that's one way to get credit in this action. So this is the map. It's on the cpace.com website. And then the financing is separate from all the tax bills. It's just another piece of paper that goes with everything else that the town is collecting on, twice a year. So that's how that works. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. That was terrific. So we will move to our next speaker, Ed Perzanowski from CTRides. And I can't find your face box, Ed, but you're out there, and I think you're going to share your screen.
I'm here. Yep.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just give me a second here to pull up. Just going to share my PowerPoint here, and now there we go.
And we can see it, Ed.
Yep, I'm just trying to get to the. Sorry, it's just from the beginning. Okay, here we go. Okay, so CTRides, and I have basically a quick agenda. We'll talk about what is the nature of our program, why are we here, and why are we talking to Sustainable CT, and how does transportation fit into sustainability. We'll also discuss the Transportation Leaders Program, which is sort of a program that's been in the works for a while, but it's something that we just launched really at the end of last year, but officially launched it this year. And that's where especially from the municipality side, based on your actions to promote green commuting modes, you can get some points for your clean and diverse transportation systems under action item 6, and specifically action item 6.3, encourage smart commuting. So that's where the transportation leaders falls in, and then we'll talk to some about some of our programming that we offer for the workforce, during COVID-19 and as we move forward. So to start off with, basically, what is CTRides? Why are we here? So we are a program of the Connecticut DOT, and essentially our goal is to help the environment by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions make up about 1/3 of Connecticut's overall GHG emissions. So our goal is to get people to think about the different choices that they have. Our services come at no cost, whether you're an employer, we work with a number of schools, colleges, and universities, whether you're a member of the public, think of us as an information portal. And we'll get into some of the employer and employees in just a second. But really, what we want you to do is to think about that commute and to consider an alternative if you can. If everybody just took a different commute once a week, that would have a big impact on the air quality in Connecticut. And we assist commuters to find better options, and I could show you that in a minute. But one thing people come to us all the time saying is that oh, hey, the bus goes by my house, or I'm not sure, or where does it go? And what we're really here to fill those gaps. We'll educate you, we'll let you know, hey, maybe the bus doesn't go to your workplace, or maybe here's the times that it works, and we'll hook you up with a free trial pass so you could try it out. Maybe it works for your commute, maybe it doesn't, but at least you'll have that sort of sense of understanding of what your options are. Some of our programming for employers, or in your case, the towns or businesses in your communities, everyone has a dedicated account manager that works specifically for your goals and your outcomes, and sort of the time that you can spend on developing a program. I mentioned the Transportation Leaders Program. That's a sort of our level of activities. It's a step-up program, so you can start with something as minimal as sort of 3 activities, and it goes all the way up to 9 or more activities. So there's something for companies of all sizes in there. We do a lot of data analysis. We'll find out where your employees are coming from. We'll develop a heat map. We'll show them their options. We'll do a work site assessment. Maybe parking's an issue, or maybe now with COVID, more people are driving. At least that's the trend that we're seeing, is that more people are driving to the work site. Parking management becomes an issue now. So we can help on that end to help mitigate some of those challenges that you had. Work site enhancements. we can do anything from helping your company or your organization become a bike friendly. So what does that entail? There's some education and there's some infrastructure that you can do to your business. Placement of bike racks, that's really important, right? So we can help you find enhancements to that. Events and engagement, we've kicked off our virtual event room now, so we can do events virtually. We can stay safe, and we continue our engagement with all of our partners. And we have telework consultants that we can help. At the beginning of COVID, we were helping a lot of companies implement their telework program. For a lot of our partners, it was the first time they implemented a telework program on a widespread scale. A lot of our companies that we had worked with had sort of a group that was teleworking, or certain select employees that were teleworking. Now this was sort of a big experiment in having an entire workforce telework at once. And now we're looking forward to the future is, what does the next how does telework work going forward now that we've been teleworking, for 9 months or 10 months or a year in some cases? How do we address that going forward? So those are some of the things that we offer, again, at no cost. And for employees, if you're an employee of a company, hey, we'll get you our custom commute plan. So we can find you that bus. We'll give you basically step-by-step directions on, how to take your mode and how it get. And once you get to your destination, you walk down the block and, there's your place of employment. We have our ride matching and trip planning tool, which is really great. You can download our app, the CTRides app. We give you your impact metrics from logging your trip. So if you say I have a 25-mile commute and I take the bus once a week, or maybe I take the bus on Tuesdays and I telework 2 days a week, basically what happens is that that gets aggregated, and that tells you, based on your vehicle and based on how many miles you would drive to work, the impact that you have from not making those trips, right? And then the fun part about that is that for every trip that you take, you get points that you can use for different rewards. We also have the emergency ride home, where if a company is signed up into our program and you happen to carpool, we can basically reimburse you for the cost of that ride home. You can call an on-demand rideshare service, such as an Uber or Lyft. You can have an employee bring you home, and then they would get the reimbursement, or you can call a traditional sort of taxi. And again, it's just sort of peace of mind for people that are taking that green commute. We have our transit trial pass program, where if you were previously driving in a car and you want to try the bus, we can hook you up with a 10-trip pass. And we have our customer support staff on hand. We do the marketing and communications for CTRail Hartford Line, CTRail Shoreline East. So they offer a lot of support in that. But also, if you have a general commuting question, we can help you with that as well. This is where some of our activities come in really quickly. It's just based on the number of activities you do. There's cascading benefits and recognition for your company. We have well over 150 different organizations across Connecticut involved with this program right now. We recently held our first recognition event for that. And for all of our partner organizations that are either bronze, silver, or gold, we have media placements in, say, the Hartford Business Journal, New Haven Business Journal. So they get that statewide exposure for that. And just to summarize, we have ongoing educational and promotional activities. Everything that we've done now is virtual. Just to keep in mind, COVID, so, we can be safe. And even if, we're allowed to travel, a lot of the companies a lot of our partners aren't even allowing outside staff in their buildings. So just keeping that in mind. We provide telework assistance, technical assistance, setting up your telework program, or, formalizing your telework program. We have a ride matching and rewards program. We're also in constant contact with, the transit providers, the state health officials on what the best practices are for transit. One thing I'll mention too is that we just had our, and I will stop showing this in a minute, is that we just wrapped up our our first webinar where we had an infectious health expert, and we had Sam Schwartz, who is the former head of New York City DOT, talking about basically that transit was not a big spreader of COVID. So it sort of dispels some of those myths. So that's sort of the CTRides program in a nutshell. And if anybody has any questions, I'll take it. And as they say in, what is it? I yield my time to the floor, right? Isn't that how Congress works?
Any question for Ed? Not yet, but people are thinking. So we're gonna wrap up our speaker panel today with Carl Asakainen from the Connecticut Coalition to End Homelessness. And Carl, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Good morning. I'm just going to speak through this if that's all right. Sorry, it might be better to look at some slides rather than me, but I'm happy to be here this morning, learning an awful lot. I've got some questions, but I'll keep them for after. So yeah, my name's Carl Asakainen. I'm from the Coalition to End Homelessness. I'm a program manager for field mobilization. Been with the Coalition for 5 years. The Coalition we're out of Hartford. We're a small group, nonprofit. There's probably about a dozen of us, and we do advocacy and policy, and we're a training and technical assistance organization and best practices articulator to our members. And our members are those that are providing direct service to homeless folks, so shelter providers, outreach workers, those involved in the system of services to address unsheltered and those who are sheltered kind of, moving into more stable and permanent housing. So we've got, well over 100 members statewide, and my work is around, community mobilization. I got my teeth cut as an outreach worker in Philadelphia in the late 90s and early 2000s. Done a lot of work around food systems, but I've had this constant focus on homelessness and unsheltered homelessness and unstable housing and food. But I'm here today to talk about the work that we are doing in partnership and coordination with Sustainable CT. So glad to have this working partner going forward. I will say, the big struggle for us at the Coalition, and frankly, nationwide, this is a struggle as well, is to find partners in every municipality, all over the state, to be really geographically comprehensive, to help us identify and get quick referrals for people who might be struggling with housing. The goal for the Coalition, is to make all instances of homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. So to that end, outreach is a really essential element. And by outreach, I mean applying, getting services to people at the street level or where they are. And again, outreach, as it exists right now statewide, is really focused in urban areas. And it's a challenge to go kind of outside of urban areas, given the resources that we have to address this. There's an eviction moratorium right now, but we still are seeing more people who are unsheltered and outside. So my work has been, doing this community work is to really try to identify partner organizations or other state collaborators to help us with this effort to identify people who might be outside. So I've been working through youth service bureaus with our partners at the Department of Children and Families. We work with the Department of Corrections to try to house people who might be released into homelessness. And I've been trying to, and as well through school districts, and I don't know if you've been looking at press about the amount of students that we've lost contact with since COVID started, but it was bad last spring, and it remains really challenging for this fall, or last fall and into this spring now. So a real big struggle for us historically has been expanding the reach of coordinated access, making sure that everybody in every town knows about what coordinated access means and how people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness should be able to access services. So a lot of my work has been outreaching town by town. You know, before the relationship with you all at Sustainable CT was to find a strong ally in an organization or a municipal representative, coordinate with them and connect them to broader resources should they exist, or at least contacts that exist to help address unsheltered homelessness. So what I've been doing since you know, our new partnership with Sustainable CT, we started on these voluntary actions in January. So excited we are number 12. Please give us a look if you haven't already. I've been outreaching to as many municipalities as I possibly can for social service agents and letting them know about the work that we are doing with Sustainable CT. Certainly looking at Sustainable CT already certified or registered towns, but also just casting a really broad net throughout the whole state and trying to make connections for the municipality to, like I said, the coordinated access network, and really start these discussions with individual towns about what's happening in your town for unsheltered populations. How does your town address people who are outside or who might be living in their car? And what would you do when you address them, or what has your experience been? And then trying to, as well, identify a point of contact at the town level through the certification here with Sustainable CT, and train them up and really get the town to think about its geography and the people at the municipal level who should be at the table to really be able to articulate how many people are unsheltered, who could be struggling with housing, who's imminently homeless, and what does this really look like town by town by town. So let's see, per our Sustainable CT actions, we're working really hard, again, to connect every municipality to the backbone agency that serves coordinated access. The whole, if I could just back up just 1 second, the whole state is on one coordinated access track. It's called the Homeless Management Information System. We are trying to document the best that we can those who are in some level of care, either in shelter or who are known to outreach. Again, but our partners they proceed fitfully at best in some areas. So how can we connect the municipality with CAN in a meaningful way? And that's the Coordinated Access Network. How can we train up your municipality to have staff to know how to respond to instances of homelessness if you're not already there? And then how can we begin this conversation about resources that the town may already have dedicated to housing to share with this broader network of people who are trying to address homelessness and make it as rare and non-recurring and as brief as possible. So let's see, I would say, you know, so far, I'll kind of stop here in a minute or so, but so far we have just fantastic response in all kind of corners of the state. With the municipalities, we're doing something outside of our formal system of the homeless management information to really get towns to just begin these elemental or beginning conversations about what unsheltered populations are like. So there is a non-HMIS data sharing portal that we've created at the Coalition to go along with some of the steps through Sustainable CT. So we have towns that are letting us or communicating with us about unsheltered populations that they have now in spaces that they know of, and we're trying to, right in real time, link them up with people doing assertive and comprehensive outreach. So I think I'll just stop there, but it's a really exciting moment to be partnering with Sustainable CT. So I want to thank all of you for your partnership. This is work that we've been doing incrementally, town by town, for some time, and it seems like we're still doing that, but we have this great comprehensive plan and a framework in place to address. So I'm really excited for this work. And if I could answer or help with any questions, I mean, my work is frankly talking to towns to make sure that you feel like you're connected to CAN, to begin town level conversations about what homelessness looks like, to start sharing data, and to make sure that you all are trained up, or that someone in your town is trained up to be able to respond to instances of housing instability or literal homelessness as fast as possible. So thank you again, Jess, for letting me be part of this morning.
Thank you, Carl. Does anyone have a question for Carl? Well, I want to open it up to all of our panelists. And first, actually, I want to thank them all for sharing their morning with us and giving us the opportunity to learn more about what they do and how they work with towns. So right now, the floor is open. We have 7 minutes, and we can stay longer if folks want to, but I do want to respect our hour-long cap. So if you have to run, feel free. But if you have any questions for any of the panelists or anything else that you want to discuss today, please don't be bashful, don't be shy, and you can use the chat or just unmute yourself.
Actually, I did have a question for Carl. He mentioned training, having someone trained to identify homelessness and what to, and know how to reach out to the resources to help with those people. Where does the training come from?
Well, our website has a lot of content around training, and I'd be happy to go through with you a little bit more detail about that. We did offer, in coordination with the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities and Sustainable CT, we did a nuts and bolts kind of 101 training about what this could entail. But our website, and Elaine, I don't want to just refer you to our website. I'll be happy to speak through some of that, but we are really interested in, so it's cch.org, and I'll drop that in the chat. So thank you for that question. But the kind of training that we're interested in you all knowing about is around diversion, these sets of conversations that we have with people actively about understanding the situation that they're in with homelessness and how to access flexible funding to help address that. So for instance, someone who might be living in their car, who has a connection to, could be in someone's apartment, but didn't have any money for that. There's like flexible funding to get them back housed. There's so that level of training, which is diversion. And then just CAN 101, like Coordinated Access Network 101. How is the system set up through 211? What's the response supposed to be like? What are the populations that we really don't have a good grip on? And I would say, the school children come up often, or kids who are connected with school districts, and we don't know as a state around unaccompanied homeless youth or minors. So there's a lot of content here, but to your question, training resides on our website. We're not the only ones offering these trainings. If you're in the greater Hartford area, Journey Home itself is a backbone agency, and they do incredible trainings around what CAN is. So specific questions I could answer it specifically depending on where you are too. There's not just us providing this training, but partner organizations.
Right, because I'm actually a town of Andover. There's only 3,200 of us. We're a tiny little rural town. But I can easily say we're probably blind to it. Don't even think we have a problem, but we don't have anybody who even knows what to look for. So that's the kind of, 101, and then we'd have to figure out who works for the town would be responsible for that kind of thing. But that definitely something that we need to look into. But it's like, I would think if you're a larger town, big city, whatever, yeah, it's obvious. But to us, it's not obvious. And I think that's a problem. So that's where I'm coming from. Yeah.
Any other questions or announcements, something interesting that you're working on that you'd like to share with the group?
I would just say, Jess, that if you all have a chance to go to our the CTRides website, right on the top of the banner there's the link to our last webinar that we did with Rich Andreski from the DOT and with Sam Schwartz, former head of the New York City DOT. And you know, there was a good discussion about transit. There's a lot of there's a lot of misconceptions out there about the safety of transit and if it spreads COVID. And you know, we're hoping to put a lot of those fears to rest. And if the what is it, TLDR? It's like transit is not a spreader of COVID as long as there's precautions in place, such as wearing masks. So. And as a matter of fact, there's some good data in there that shows the highest incidences per capita of COVID are happening in rural areas as opposed to more dense places like we have in Connecticut.
Excellent. Thanks, Ed. That's an important point. Any other thoughts or questions? Cool stuff happening out in your towns? All right, hearing none, I want to thank you all for spending time with us this morning. And again, thanks to our speakers for sharing. If anyone wants contact information, just shoot me an email or contact us at info@sustainablect.org. Our next session, our next coffee hour is April 16th, same time, same place. We hope to see you there. And we are possibly going to be talking about working together, how towns work together in so it's still a little bit in flux, but we'd love to hear from you if you have things you'd like to talk about. And I see CJ has his hand up, so we'll turn the floor to him, but want to thank you all again.
Hi, everyone. Just a quick announcement. I'm the recycling coordinator for the city of Waterbury, but I also work with the Connecticut Recyclers Coalition. And we've begun a discussion to bring back a Connecticut treasure. The Trash Museum was a place visited by school children, Cub Scouts, and people actually from all over the world. It was booked for years in advance, educating everyone about trash, recycling, and composting. It closed due to some financial and contractual changes and actually some legislative changes. We hope that given Connecticut is facing a trash crisis, within 2 or 3 years, your trash bill may double. And we're also facing sustainability crisis on a larger scale in terms of energy, climate change, and many other issues. We may try to bring the Trash Museum back to continue with trash and recycling education by helping people understand the issues by visiting an actual working trash center, but it also may become a hub for other activities, perhaps Sustainable CT, perhaps any of the organizations we heard about today. They have video, conferencing, auditorium, exhibit space. There's so much that's already there. And so we're hoping that we can bring that back. I'd love to talk to anybody about that. My name is CJ May. I work for the city of Waterbury. I can put my email in the chat there, but I'd love to talk to you if you have ideas about how we can use this. We want to fund this probably initially with grants, but then we really want to make sure there's a secure funding mechanism so that this place doesn't get closed down again as the winds of funding change in the future. So I hope to hear from you, and maybe we can continue the conversation later. Thank you.
Thanks, CJ. And CJ put his contact in the chat, so you can reach out to him. Any other final thoughts? All right, well, today's the last day of winter, so enjoy winter's last couple hours and spring this weekend. Great to see everyone. Thank you for your time and enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye all.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank
Thank you.
Thank you.